Mimi had become somewhat of a controversial figure after her time on Drag Race, but many people still really loved her, and Mimi was actually involved in organising several Drag Race tours and events. And many queens have said that they really respect Mimi's work ethic because she is very committed and hard-working. However, it seems that Mimi has had feuds with several other queens over the years, and this has led to her reputation being somewhat tarnished. Back in 2013, Mimi had a Twitter beef with season 5 contestant Jade Jolie, who accused Mimi of insulting her during a show. Mimi said that when she has a microphone, she enjoys reading people, and it's never personal, and told Jade to get over it. Mimi also referenced Jade's previous career in adult movies, and Mimi told Jade to, quote, do what you do best and suck a D for a $50 camera from Best Buy. The two of them then traded more insults, and Jade said that Mimi wasn't funny and even called her a poor version of Delta Work. And Mimi shared a screenshot showing that she had more followers than Jade at the time, which is somewhat ironic because nowadays Jade has almost double the number of followers that Mimi has on social media. But Judge Michelle Visage eventually stepped into the argument and said, "Stop it, girls," which has now become a bit of a joke online. Another queen that Mimi has had problems with is season 4 contestant Willem. Willem has talked several times about her bad experiences with Mimi and how she never wants to work with Mimi again. During one episode of Race Chaser, where Willem and Alaska were reviewing season 3 of Drag Race, Willem said that she had worked with Mimi before and she had hired Mimi to write some jokes for her. But Willem said that it was a horrible experience and she would never do it again, and many other queens have apparently also had bad experiences with Mimi.
Being too much, like this is why people don't like her, you know, because when the pressure is on, the worst comes out in some people. Well, I just worked with her for a month and it was horrible.
Okay.
So I'm not taking this back, and I don't feel the need to bleep it. And we all experienced the same thing on this tour where we don't want to work with her again.
And in another episode of Race Chaser, Willem revealed that during the haters roast, Mimi didn't like some of the jokes that people were making about her, and Mimi ended up crying and threatening to leave the tour. Willem said she confronted Mimi and the two of them had a heated argument, which led to Willem telling Mimi that she didn't like her.
She was going to leave the tour.
She said she was going to leave the tour if certain people didn't stop making certain jokes. But she cried. Come on, there's no crying in drag. And I'm like, if you have a problem with me, you need to talk to me. And then she's like, well, I think you're condescending. And I said, well, that's not condescending. You're probably just actually sensing that I don't like you.
And there have also been some other allegations against Mimi for bad behaviour. Let's look at that now. Bad behaviour. Because of the various feuds that Mimi has had with other queens over the years, Mimi developed a bit of a bad reputation among many queens. But for the most part, her career still seemed to be going well. But there were several incidents that happened where Mimi was called out for bad behaviour by other queens. One of them involved Trixie Mattel during an event in the UK. Back in 2017, there was an event called Drag Tech in Manchester, England, which was sort of like an early iteration of DragCon, where queens had booths and fans could come for a meet and greet. There were several well-known Drag Race queens at the event, including Mimi and also Trixie Mattel. Photos later emerged from the event, and according to a fan online who was at the event, Mimi was reportedly annoyed that Trixie had a big line at her booth, whereas Mimi didn't have a line at her booth. So Mimi seemingly picked up her booth table and her merchandise and moved it over to Trixie's line and was trying to sell her merchandise to people waiting in Trixie's line. Trixie was apparently annoyed about this and told Mimi to move. So Mimi then moved her table to the middle of the convention centre and was trying to sell her merchandise to anyone who walked past. And it's hard to know whether this was meant seriously or whether Mimi was just joking but the joke didn't land. But either way, the incident seemingly left a bad taste in some people's mouths. Mimi also once caught some criticism from legendary drag queen Jackie Beat, who accused Mimi of stealing jokes. Mimi had long established herself as a successful comedy queen, and although she had a slightly negative reputation, people still respected her comedic abilities. And one famous example was at the roast of Michelle Visage, which took place on a cruise event in 2014 organised by Elle and Chuck Travel. And Mimi was by far the best roaster of the night, and this changed many people's perception of Mimi as a comedian.
Bianca Del Rio's so fucking old that her Rolodex of hate used to be a stone tablet. She's so fucking old that the key on Benjamin Franklin's kite unlocked her apartment. I want to thank Bianca Del Rio for making this cruise happen. Her entire family is cleaning your fucking cabins.
However, over the years, people have accused Mimi of stealing other people's jokes. And this included Jackie Beat, who is a famous drag queen known for her comedy. In March 2019, Jackie tweeted saying, "Stealing another queen's jokes is bad enough, but stealing one of her most iconic and infamous jokes is just pathetic. But what should I expect from someone who used to come to my shows and literally take notes? Hashtag you're last." And although Jackie didn't mention Mimi's name, it's assumed Jackie was referring to Mimi because of the hashtag you're last, which is a play on words of Mimi Imfurst. And season 6 winner Bianca Del Rio replied to Jackie's tweet with the eyes emoji, and Jackie said that it was her Betty White joke that she was referring to, and Mimi had seemingly stolen this joke. Mimi also caught some criticism from fans back in 2018 when she made a critical comment about Jinx Monsoon's new album. Jinx had released her second album called The Ginger Snapped in January of 2018, and the music was inspired by the 90s/2000s. But Mimi posted on Facebook criticising Jinx's album and said, "No offence, but that's exactly the album I released a year ago. There's nothing whole or new about this. Do I even exist?" And many fans called out Mimi and said that she was just bitter because Jinx's album was more successful than Mimi's. And although these feuds and dramas with other drag queens had affected Mimi's reputation, the biggest controversy of Mimi Imfurst was yet to come. And this seemed to damage Mimi's career for good. Let's talk about that now.